Surrounded by some of the world's highest peaks, the Diamer District in northern Pakistan is not easy to reach. Isolated for generations, the tribal people here have always been religious, conservative, and suspicious of outsiders. Until recently, there was little education. Women could not earn their own income, and people were open to extremist ideas. Now, all that has changed.
Before, people from this area would go and train in different areas of Pakistan in the name of waging jihad to protect Islam. After the projects, a change came on the people, and they stopped going.
This project that caused such a change in people's attitudes was initiated by the UN's International Fund for Agricultural Development, or IFAD. Its aim was to reduce poverty, and it was the first ever development project in the area. But for the tribal people here, what the project proposed was initially hard to accept.
At first they said women's organizations had to be formed, but the social attitudes in this area didn't allow women to gather or be mobilized. The project also brought a credit system with loans. But according to the people's perception here, those loans were un-Islamic.
This was viewed as a threat to their religion and culture. The resistance was fierce.
It came to a point that bombs went off, vehicles were fired at. I was there myself in Darel. The vehicles were stopped, tires were burst, glass was blown out. We were only saved when people from the nearby village came to rescue us.
The religious scholars in the area were deeply divided. It took 4 years before they agreed that the project activities were not against Islam. After this, the communities embraced the project and became actively involved in the decision-making. A road was built, giving them access to markets, schools and health facilities. Clean water was channeled to their houses. The introduction of new crops and livestock meant people could feed themselves and increase their incomes. Despite the initial resistance, 140 women's organizations were formed, and for the first time, these women generated and managed their own income.
With development came an awareness. Our minds were changed psychologically and mentally.
Before the project, this area had a literacy rate of 9%, with virtually no female schooling. For people like sheep farmer Abdul Shakur, the project made education accessible, affordable, and most importantly, desirable.
Look at me and those who came before me. We are all illiterate, but now all our children are educated. Before we only lived our lives in this small area, but now we know this is a very big world.
And as the people began to view the world in a different way, development, education and peaceful living became a priority, and there was a shift away from extremist thinking. The real test of this change in attitude came in 2008, when locals say a group of extremists schooled in Taliban teachings tried to infiltrate the area. This Islamic scholar says that before the project, the extremists would have been welcomed here.
We sent these people back because our future development was at stake. We want our development in education, in money and trade. We want development of our people. This is only possible when there is peace.
Now this community no longer relies on the project to fulfill its needs. They've recently pooled their own money to generate electricity. And at a time when fundamentalism threatens world stability, they are proof that when people are exposed to a bigger world, attitudes can change.